Doing the screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am. 1 second.
Yeah.
Ma'am, is it visible?
Not yet. Hold on a second. Yes, it's visible. Ma'am, will you please share the screen again? You have to start, I think, on. Hello?
Ma'am, now is it visible, ma'am?
Let me just check.
Ma'am, now is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Hold on a second. Turn my camera. Yeah. Am I audible properly?
I'm put.
Yes. Am I visible? Yes. So shall I start?
1 second.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So good morning, all of you. It's a pleasure uh, working with IoT. And thank you so much, IoT, for giving me this opportunity to talk on a very imminent topic. Hello? Somebody has unmuted, I guess. Yeah. So today we are going to discuss on the effective.
Join. Screen.
Ma'am, please mute yourself. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah. Just start the screen. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So today we are going to talk on the effective methods of writing thesis. At the same time, we also will be overviewing some research methodologies also. Please go to the next slide. So these are certain academic perspectives, those we have to consider before we go for discussing research methodology or even thesis writing. A dissertation or thesis is a lengthy piece of academic writing based on original research that is submitted as a part of your bachelor's degree, master's degree, or even a doctoral program. A structure of thesis varies according to the stream of your specialization. So, but basically it is divided into commonly 4 or 5 chapters. Now we have to first understand what is research. Research is investigating through a scientific perspective in order to contribute something new to the existing stream of knowledge. Now, please mind the last words that I have said. Contribution has to happen. Unless and until there is a contribution, it will not be called as a research. Otherwise, what would happen? Many people confuse with the idea of research altogether, and then they end up summarizing others' works. But that becomes a pure summary, not a research. We always expect you to discover something or innovate something new and contribute into whatever is there. You have to have some addition. Now, when you say that there has to be an addition to the existing stream of knowledge, it doesn't mean that you should not refer or challenge the previous theories. You can definitely. This is how the study always evolves. The discipline of knowledge always has evolved. Some scientists or some theorists have proponented some theories. For example, let's say the theory of intelligence. Initially, it was considered that intelligence is of one type, but later on, Bandura investigated more on it, and he has come out with a multiple type of intelligence of people. And he said that every person is different according to the type of intelligence the person has. And this is how we have to incorporate that approach in the teaching, in the classroom, and that will help us to enhance the abilities of students. At the same time, it will be easy for the teacher also to incorporate knowledge in the students too. So, in this way, you can challenge the theory of some previous theorist and you can wipe out whatever was said by the previous theories and you can come out with your new conclusions. You can build your own theory also. At the same time, you can challenge some previous conclusions of the study too. This is how also you are doing something new, definitely. Please go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, as I said, that the type of methodologies or the type of writing thesis is different to, and it is little discipline specific. For example, let's say in humanities. In humanities, the piece of writing is always in a large form of argument and it revolve around the central thesis. The chapters are organized around diverse case studies and themes. Whereas in empirical study in the sense that something, the data for which especially empirical study happens in sciences or social sciences or historical studies and so on. So in this subject, the thesis is going to feature all the academic components that we are about to discuss below. I mean, we are going to discuss some things further in the next slide also. And now thing is, it may contain certain, just a second, huh? In specific types of qualitative social sciences, the discussion as well as the results are woven together than being dealt separately. But in some studies, the research section is not included altogether. So it depends on this type of discipline you have chosen. So now what has to be done? So whenever you take admission to a certain degree, first thing you have to do is to get the manual of the research. And then you have to thoroughly study the rules and regulation of that particular institute or that particular university. And you have to abide by that. Sometimes uh, they may also give you a fixed structure in which you have to write a thesis. For example, one of my teachers who studied in UK, his MPhil dissertation was short of 50 pages, not more than that. But in India, it has to be at least 100 pages or 150 pages. So this is very different. We don't have this kind of page limits. One page exceeded by 50 will not be allowed in their university. So you also have to first of all take care that you have undergone thoroughly the research manual of that particular institute. Second thing, you also have to cross check, go through the previous works of the scholars from your department. That will also give you an ample idea about the structure of the kind of thesis you have to write in your particular department. Go to the next slide, please. Now, this is how is the common structure. Now, here we are actually discussing some common things. Now, this is a common structure of thesis in sciences and social sciences and humanities also. So first comes in the introduction, then goes literature review, methodology, result and finding, discussion, and then conclusions. We'll discuss everything in detail in the next slides. Next slide, please. Now this is something is very important. These are certain steps that one has to go for before starting writing the thesis altogether. Now, there are certain prerequisite things involved in your research writing. What are those prerequisite things? First thing, you should first choose your research topic carefully. Now, what happens in many cases, people just randomly choose topic before deciding if it is in their capacity or not. So, whenever you choose a topic, you have to first cross check if it is in your capacity. Do not go for over ambitious topic. It is very important that your research should help the community at a wider level. It should not be just helpful only for one or certain persons only. It should be beneficial to the wider academic community. It's very important. It is an opportunity to showcase your thoughts and your ideas. Now, understand what is research basically. Research is a place, is a platform where you get an opportunity to incorporate your ideas in front of a large audience. Now, this audience are all the scholars who have already worked on that particular field or upcoming scholars also. So this is a platform who gives you an idea to give, gives you a platform to showcase your ideas. So understand that. Use that platform as a platform of showcasing your ideas or thoughts. Another thing is it should be achievable. Achievable in the sense, two basic things. One, your research work has a time limit. If it is a bachelor's or master's thesis, then you have to finish it in 6 months or something like that. If it is your MPhil degree, then you have to finish it in 3 years. If it is your PhD, then it has to be ideally finished in 5 years. And in certain cases, you get extension of 1 year or more. That's it. So you have to understand the topic I'm choosing. Is it possible for me to finish it in that span of time? Very important is you have to understand why is it important to work on this area, because contribution has to happen. You should always ask this question whenever you finalize a topic. Why is it important to work on this topic? For example, let's say there is a tribe, and in that tribe, as an educated people, we have found out the mothers, lactating mothers especially, are malnutritioned, and which is not good for the health of a mother and a baby also. So you have started researching on a certain topic. So how to improve the health of lactating mothers and the child altogether in the particular tribe or particular community. Now this is what I am doing, and why is it important? Because this study has not been undertaken by anybody else before. And this is a serious issue. If a mother is not healthy, she will not be capable to beget the healthy progenies, right? And children will start suffering from the very age of their life, early age of their life, which may cause severe health issues in the growing age, in the adulthood also of the child. And there are high chances of the child death. So these are certain serious issues you have decided to tackle with or research on. That's why your topic is important. So in this way, you should ask yourself if your topic is going to contribute something new, why is it important, and who will it be benefited by. So it should be benefited to the wider academy, wider community. So once, let's say, you have conducted a research on this women health issues of lactating mothers in that particular tribe, and you conclude with some practical solutions from your research, you are successful to bring some fundings or some government fundings or some help or something like that, or even if you are able to educate these people to understand what kind of care they have to take and what are the opportunities available, what are the government help available outside, then your purpose is served. It is going to help or benefit, your research is going to benefit to the wide community altogether. At the same time, your research will be referred, will be read by scholars, NGOs, social workers, whose attention will be caught because of your research, and they will come and help these communities out through various means, maybe financially, maybe by educating them, maybe by setting medical camps there, helping them out, maybe governing their health on regular basis, something like that. So all these things you have to understand. Now, very important thing is, once you finalize one particular area of your study, it is highly important to narrow down your study. Many people fail at finishing their research because it's not achievable. Now, when we say achievable, we have discussed about timeline. Second thing here important is narrow down your topic. Now, I'm here staying in India, in particular state, in particular place. Now, is it possible for me to study the women health issues in Africa? Africa is a huge continent, right? Is it possible for me, when I say women health issues in Africa, means the whole Africa. Even if I say women health issues in India, it means the whole India. Now, is it possible for me to go for the field work, visit each and every part of India? No. Even if I decide to take help of somebody else's research who has already done, India is a large piece of land. It's a huge country, and there are lot of parts, many states, sub parts of the state, districts, villages, cities, many more areas. So, how will I cover each and every area then? Not necessary that people before me has conducted studies on each and every part of India. There might be many parts which are not investigated from the women health perspective. Then what should I do? Then is it possible for me to go, and is it approachable for me, accessible for me? Not at all. So you should always choose a certain area of your study which is in your access limit, which is in your capacity. You should be able to achieve that. Now, when I'm saying, I'm giving example of this particular thing, not necessarily every time you have to go for the field work. I mean, these are different methodologies. We will be discussing those methodologies in the next slide anyways. But here as a reference, I'll tell you. So in certain disciplines, you have to go for field research. That is one method. You have to go on field, investigate through your surveys, questionnaires, interviews. These are the tools of your research. Or you can do sample survey if you are in science discipline, and if you have decided to do some blood test, or conduct tests on the water pollution in certain area or something like that, you should carry your equipments to that particular place and do it. So that comes under this field work. Another is, you can go for laboratory research. You can ask somebody to collect the samples and bring it to you, and you can experiment those samples and study those samples in the laboratory conducive setup. You can put some chemicals, use laboratory equipments, and then you conclude your study. So that becomes laboratory research. Another thing is, there you can use reports on, you can take reports from the government websites. So either that may be qualitative or quantitative. When we say quantitative, quantity means numbers. When you are referring numbers using data in a numerical form for your study, it becomes a quantitative study, method of your study of research. When you are analyzing the data that is in a pieces of text, that becomes qualitative study of your research method. Now, these things you have to mind before you start your research. First thing, which method is possible for you? For example, in my MPhil research, I went for field work. It was possible, but for my doctoral study, it was not possible. So I went for library research rather, and I did more of qualitative research. So I understood my limitation. Everybody has a limitation. Now, limitation might be of a method, limitation might be of a sample. I mean, sample in the sense that you may not be able to cover the whole India altogether. So, what you can do is, you can talk about female health issues in Maharashtra, female health issues in Tamil Nadu, or even in Tamil Nadu, you can go for particular state or particular region, such as I may talk about female health issues in Pune. Pune is also a huge city, it's a district. Under that, there are a lot of subparts. But these are in my capacity somehow. I can get some government data. There is a network of government, health employees, which are spread across various villages, various regions of Pune. I can get data from that, from them, if it's not possible for me to go on the field. So these all things you have to consider before you choose your topic. Second thing you have to step is examine what is expected. Now there are some ethics and protocols to conduct your study. For that, every university gives you a handbook of research. In that handbook, you have to study the protocols of your research. There are some do's and don'ts. There are that you are supposed to be abided by. There are some do's and don'ts of the research. For example, there are some ethical practices in the research. Very important is avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism, that is copying somebody else's work in your study, is prohibited, strictly prohibited, is banned. It's not allowed. It is not an ethical practice. So you have to use the handbook or the referring style guide also for that. Even if you decide to use somebody else's study as a reference in your research, you have to write that under bibliography or references or citation. You have to give credit. This is like giving credit. When you give credit to somebody, it does not mean that you have copied it. In this way, you can get rid of the plagiarism. You also have to study how your thesis has to be structured. Now, if the university has given guideline, well and good, or not, then whatever we are discussing, please note these things down. This is how your thesis is structured. There are these compulsory elements in your research. Now, what types of source material are used in your research? Now, you also have to decide what are your capacities, which kind of source materials you are going to use, and you have to mention those source materials in your research writing. What forms of analysis are perceived as appropriate? So, about this also, the list of forms of analysis are given in the handbook. You have to go through that. Third step is have a clear goal and a structure. Proposal outline, a careful approach. Before you start writing your thesis, you have to write a proposal for your research. And you have to defend that proposal in front of a committee that is known as RR committee. So that committee checks your approach, your aims and objectives, your objectives, what you want exactly, what you want to conduct, and they also cross check if your study is going to be beneficial to a larger community. Is it going to contribute something or not? And then they give you a green tick. Then they give you an entry in your research for your research work for the degree, particular degree. So this proposal step is highly crucial. So you have to invest really well in your proposal. So in proposal outline, you have to talk about what you want to do exactly, why you want to do, and how will it be beneficial. These three questions has to be answered in your proposal. A lot of reading and researching is very important. Before you start writing your own research, you always better to refer a lot of works done by your previous scholars. In these works, reading, not only reading, but also you can read articles, scholarly articles, textbooks. At the same time, you can read some newspaper articles or some blogs or something like that. At the same time, you can listen and watch videos of experts. You can attend best guest lectures in that particular stream, and then you can study and collect data from all these works. This particular part will come under literature review. So you have to go for an ample literature review before you go for your final writing. Structuring and restructuring are the parts of your research writing. You have to structure your research and start writing. Please understand from day one, write as you go is very important. You do not wait for a fine day. Once I finish everything reading or everything researching, and then I'll start writing. Please do not do like that. The moment the thought struck in your mind, you note it down on a piece of page. Keep on writing, keep on writing. Not necessary that each and every word you are going to use in your thesis, but it is going to help you out to shape your ideas. And then you will start writing. Now, once you finish your writing, does not mean that your research is complete. You may have to structure and restructure again. There are some things which you have to take ahead. There are some things you have to eliminate from your writing, or you can put it at the last point, something like that. So this is a process, this is a part of your research. So please do not think that in one go you finish writing. It doesn't happen like that. Drafting, redrafting, and proofreading are a part and parcel of the research writing. Proofreading is very important. Proofread by yourself, get it proofread by your peers, your friends, and very importantly, give the thesis to the expert from your field to for the proofreading. So it helps you out to eliminate the mistake at the basic stage itself. So might be you have incorporated certain wrong concepts or written in a wrong way. Then these people will help you out to point out. Many times what happens, we may not identify our own mistakes because we are habitual of it. We are reading it every day, or it may get missed from our eyes while reading. But somebody else from a third person angle may point it out. Or sometimes it may happen that you are completely innocent, you are not aware about it. Then the next person will identify that mistake and you can rectify the corrections in your thesis. At the same time, always take the help of a language expert. Now, whatever language you are writing a thesis in, you have to get it proofread from that person. Maybe it's in English or Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, or Hindi, or any other language. Whatever language you are writing thesis is in, you have to get help of that person in order to eliminate the grammatical mistakes. Nowadays, the softwares like Grammarly are available. You can take you can buy an advanced version of Grammarly. Among 2 3 friends you can pay together and for you use it for the whole year, something like that. That's cheaper, but do not rely completely on that, because sometimes that also gives you wrong suggestions also. Very weird, but that is true. It happens like that. Okay. So as I told you, that will be your first step, that you have to always start writing whenever you think that my your research begins from day one. Understand? So first thing you have to do is you have to aim for a suitable target, achievable target. Check that you have addressed everything. Once you finish writing, please cross check from the beginning altogether that you have addressed everything that you wanted. So in this what you can do at this time, you can check your notebook in which you are writing from day one, and you can tick the ideas which you have incorporated in your thesis. You can cross check which you thought later on are not important, but there may be some ideas which you have not yet included. So in this way, this cross checking helps you out. Frequent backup of and research notes are very important. That's what I said. From day one itself, you start taking research notes. Even, what I used to do when I was enrolled for the coursework, my practical original research writing did not start that time. Even my topic was not finalized. But every day, whenever I used to interact with my teachers, I used to be the part of the coursework. I started understanding better what is research, what are various research methodologies, what are possible fields, what are the fields in which the research has happened on ample level, which are new approaches, methodologies, tools, techniques, and all. I used to think of new topic every day. But what I used to do is I used to write down at the bottom of the page, or on the head of the page. And then in this way, it helped me out to give me clarity on various ideas. Now, another important point is, unless and until there is an ample backup data, you cannot work on that topic. If you choose certain topic for which you do not have any methodology available or any literature review available, you cannot go for your research because you do not have a theoretical background for it. So what you have to do is, you have to make sure whatever topic you have chosen, there must have been some contribution happened by the previous scholars. Always check for that. So in this way, some of my topics eliminated because I there was very less data available, which was not sufficient to make a 300 pages thesis book, right? So then ultimately it helped me to refine my work, narrow it down, and ultimately finalizing the topic. And always take backup. If you are writing on a digital platform, put one copy on drive, put another copy in MS Word. Keep on emailing yourself every time whatever you finish writing, by putting a date of that particular day, so you will understand which is the latest version, which is the last copy. Because this is how it becomes good for you to keep the track of your work also. And at the same time, in case of any emergency happens, the data will not be wiped out completely. If possible, keep on sending one copy to your friend also. So in that way, your friend may also have a backup of your data. Continue to question whatever you are writing. Maintain a questioning and critical mindset. Do not believe always on whatever you are writing. None of us are the masters on day one. It takes time and efforts and a lot of flow of knowledge to grow in the expertise, to get the expertise, right? So always question whatever statement you have made. Is it correct? Is it foolproof? Is there any other interpretation? Is it ambiguous? Is it leading the reader to the correct direction that I want them to lead? You can show to your friend and ask them if it is giving any other kind of interpretation altogether. So you have to have this questioning habit. At the same time, you should have a critical mindset. Keep on asking question to yourself: what a statement you have made, is it valid? Is it leading me somewhere? Is it diverting me from the main track? See, it happens with each and everyone. There, when you have a topic in your mind, you give a proposal with all enthusiasm, you start writing, and then what happens? The moment you start studying, the days go on, and then you start taking interest in new things. You start finding new aspects, and you feel that, oh, now I would like to go on this track and I would like to investigate more. After that, you will feel like, oh, I will like to go on this track and I like to investigate more. You always have to put a restriction boundary to yourself. You cannot keep on diverting. If you keep on diverting, it feels very beautiful, very amazing, exciting, you know, finding new things, exploring new things, new approaches. If you feel like that, write down somewhere on your in your notebook, and later, once you finish your thesis writing, you can publish a paper on that topic. But not now. Unless and until you restrict yourself, you have to tell yourself, this is a straight road that goes to my ultimate conclusion, and I have to walk on this road. Now I have taken decision, there is no U-turn. I cannot go back because the committee has approved your title. Once your title is approved, you cannot make law changes. It may happen that later on with some people, okay, it may happen that later on you may feel that, oh my god, I have chosen this title but this is not working for me, because I now cannot think more. I cannot go for more investigation or conclusion, or I don't have any data or backup, something like that. Or might be it becomes outdated, especially in case if you start working now, you take admission now, and even after 7 years, you don't finish your research. Okay, this happened with me when I was writing my research paper. Okay, I started writing on how MOOCs are important, study platforms. It was long back in 2018. I started writing on it. I started data collection and everything. I was giving an approach to. I was planning to contribute into the approach some advanced approach to the teaching learning. And I was just advocating MOOC platforms, online learning platforms, as an alternative mediums to enhance your knowledge, support your knowledge. So whatever is my major discipline, I can do some small courses that will help me out to get more understanding, dive deep in one particular zone. And then people were not much positive, not much aware about it. And then I could not finish my paper and publish. And before that, COVID broke out. COVID-19 broke out and the whole scene changed. So I was writing two papers. Another paper was on use of mobile applications for teaching in classroom, especially English as a second language, English as second language classrooms. So I was trying to advocate the thing that mobiles are easily available with people, and we can use this as a tool of study rather than just using it as a part of entertainment. And some of these studies had already taken place in UK, US, and even in Africa also. And people were very happy about it. They had very good results. They experimented, they implemented it in various schools and colleges, and it really worked. It really helped them to learn the second language. In this way, you can take lot of tests, you can make groups of people, you can take activities, you can give various tasks to the students and so on. So there are a lot of apps also available. Some of the apps you might have used, but thing is people were not much positive of giving allowing mobile phones in the classroom. They are saying no, no, it will disturb the whole setup. We don't allow mobile phones to our children or students. And then COVID-19 changed the scenario again. So both of my study concluded actually were about to publish, and the conclusion of my studies changed completely, because initially people were not accepting, they were not ready to go for online platforms as an alternative medium of study. But due to COVID-19, people had to go online. Many students who never had laptops at their home, they had to buy androids, mobile phones. They were doing their classes on mobile phones. So mobile phone was a platform of classes conduction, platform of test, platform of examination, platform of evaluation, platform of tasks, activities, and everything. So the conclusion intention of my second study, that mobile application, was practically working there. But when I was conducting study, the results were very different. But thing is, my study became outdated because of the sudden thing changed. I could not publish it in time. Even if I could have published that, my paper would have gone wasted. So what I did after that, after 2 years of COVID-19, I conducted second part of the study on how the approaches have changed. I called the same people on whom I administered the questionnaire in the first part before COVID-19, who are not at all ready to use mobile phones or online platforms. So now their attitudes, their views were completely changed. They were very much into it. But then I found lot of gaps that even in villages, it is not working on larger scale. People are using mobile phones just for entertainment and not for study and so on. And whatever platforms they are using, they are also substandard. So my study diverted to that side, and I contributed more on how we can resolve these issues, how we can educate them, how we can bring some funding, so people will start working more on technology friendly teaching and so on. So this is what I want to tell you, that you have to have a fixed frame of time. Take certain topic which will last longer, the conclusion of which will not change due to the time limit of the time limit. For example, if your topic is going to expire after 5 years, it's not useful. Don't work on certain topics. Work on certain topics which are going to be beneficial even after 10 years of your study. Okay, in the cases like epidemic breakout, we cannot help it because this was very sudden. Tsunami or pandemic, this was very sudden, never thought of kind of situation happened. So it's okay in this scene. But unless and until you investigate how helpful is your topic, don't go for it. Okay. Then your thesis has to be last step is it should be well structured, coherent, and polished. Now, understand bibliography thing I already have talked about. You have to give references to whatever material you are using. Somebody's studies you are referring in your particular study. So make sure that please cite it in the bibliography. So you will not come under plagiarism. Then reassessing the logic of the whole piece. Please read your thesis before submitting from start to end. Then find out if somewhere it's going illogical, somewhere it's losing the chain. Many times it may happen that first paragraph is not matching with the second paragraph, or one chapter has to match with the second chapter. It has to go hand in hand. If your thesis have 5 chapters, the first chapter should be interlinked with the second. Second should be interlinked with the third. Third with the fourth. Fourth with the fifth. And it should lead to the conclusion. So please maintain that logical order. My your guide used to tell me, if you feel bored of reading your own work, then understand the readers are going to get bored of your work. So make sure that you should always be enthusiastic about what you are writing. If your finding is monotonous, boring, make changes in your writing. It's very important. Give sufficient time to proofreading and check. Do not hassle, hurry, because once you submit your thesis, it will be there for ages with all the mistakes, and then you cannot do anything, and it will be a very bad, poor show for yourself. You may have very good capacities, you might have done a very good job, but these grammatical mistakes or illogical orders are going to portray a very bad picture. Main argument should be supported by relevant citations. Contributions of the most influential theories and research has to be there. Unless and until there is a theoretical background, it does not become scientific. Understand, research is a scientific study, and there has to be a contribution. Please mind these two things. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah, now this is how we structure our thesis. Uh, you can just quickly read it out. There is nothing much that we should read right away. Please go to the next slide so I can start discussing. So this is how is the title page. The title page flows like this. So this is your name, name of a department, institution, degree program. Please check. Most of the universities give you a title page. If not, then study some previous works of people, and then you can, you can study previous work of previous people and check for the titles of those people. Okay, please go to the next slide. Okay, this is the page of acknowledgement. Now, page of acknowledgement, this is a page where you thank people. Okay. This is a thanking page where you acknowledge the efforts other people have taken or help the other people have given. Okay. Now, help means what? Your family members or your friends or somebody else must have helped you out for your study, right? So you have to talk about that in this page. Now, this page in certain cases is not compulsory, but this is a very good etiquette to acknowledge the efforts of those who have helped you out. Especially, it begins with thanking to your guide, to the university for giving you opportunity to work on this research and so on. Next slide, please. Now, abstract is very important part of your research. Very important, I must say, because this is a mirror of your work. And people usually read abstract and then they decide whether your research work has to be referred or not. Now, understand, abstract is a short summary of your whole work. Now, summary in the sense, there are certain things which have to be mentioned in your abstract. For example, state the main topic and your main aim of your research. Then distribute the methods of your methods you have used. Describe about that. Then summarize the main results. and state your conclusion in the abstract. So the person will understand what kind of study you have conducted, why have you conducted, and how your study is benefiting to the larger community. Next slide, please. Table of contents. So table of contents is a page that usually we find in books also, where the title and page number is given. So it is very good for the navigation from chapters to chapters or sub chapters and so on. Next page, please. Next slide. In certain studies, let's say in sciences, you may use some figures or tables or abbreviations, some scientific terminologies, which may not be understood easily. At the same time, for example, if I have said United Kingdom at the beginning, and then I will be saying UK everywhere in my thesis. Then a person who actually is reached on page number 50 of my thesis may not remember that what this UK was meant by. So now the person cannot go on page one and find out where was the explanation given, right? So it's always easy for the person to go on the page of glossary and find out alphabetically where UK is written and the explanation of UK. So in glossary, you give the alphabetical words or short, even abbreviations or any new concepts if you are using in your particular work of research. Next slide, please. Introduction is the key to begin a good kind of discussion. So under introduction comes your what is your main central theme of your research, your topic, what's your purpose, and how your work is relevant in the stream of knowledge study. Um, now, introduction should establish your research topic, give necessary background information to contextualize your work. It should have a focus on your definite, scope for the research, further research, and so on. Next slide, please. So under introduction, we basically give an overview of what are the things which we are going to discuss in further few pages. Okay. Now, literature review, as I told already, is a very important key aspect in your research. So whenever you conduct research, you have to refer to the scholarly articles and lectures of previous people, theories of previous people, and you have to summarize here in your particular write-up. Now, when you uh, why we do this literature review, because this literature review helps us to address the gaps in the study and tell the readers that how you have identified those gaps and how you are trying to bridge those gaps through your research work. It also takes a new theoretical and methodological approach to the topic. It also proposes a solution to the unresolved problems of the previous research works. At the same time, it also talks about advances in the theoretical debate, that how certain thing started and how it evolved through the period of time. It also builds on and strengthens existing knowledge with the new data. So that's why these things are important. Before you start writing literature review, please understand the structure of the literature review from the handbook. So usually it goes from title, choosing the title, name of, I mean, whatever the title of the article, name of the author. Thereafter, the year of publication, publisher, place of publication, page number, if it is journal or book or something like that, and then summarizing. Under summary, you have to talk about the major theme of the research, methods, statement of problem, and major findings. These four things has to be addressed there in the summary of the literature. Next slide, please. There are various methodologies which we use for our research. I already have discussed about this: qualitative, quantitative, experimental, ethnographic. Then tools like interviews, surveys, archives, statistical analysis, discourse analysis, computer programs, laboratory research, library research, field work, sampling method, and so on. You have to identify the correct methodology according to your topic and according to your discipline, because many, for example, let's say laboratory research is very discipline specific. It is there in sciences and only in certain social sciences, right, and natural sciences. Next slide, please. um, this is about the results and findings, where you talk about your you know major statement of problem or hypothesis, and how you investigated your study, and what are the conclusions you reached to. Next slide, please. This is very important part. So this discussion means goes into analysis section also. So whatever we call, let's say our thesis are divided into 5 parts. First part goes to the aims and objectives, theoretical framework in the second chapter. I mean, history, background, everything comes in the first chapter. What methodology you are using, problem statement, hypothesis, scope for research, scope and limitations, and everything comes in first chapter. Second chapter is theoretical background, and then third, fourth chapter are analysis of the data. Fifth chapter is the conclusion of your study, under which you write about findings and you discuss what are the findings, what are your results. You give critical inputs on whatever you have concluded, and why you also support your statements, why your statements are correct, and you give ample backup to that. You prove those with some, you prove your statement with some concrete proofs from your study. This is what comes under discussion. So you talk, here comes the major findings. Next slide, please. So this is a conclusion of your study. So under the conclusion of your study, you have to concisely answer the main research questions. At the same time, you have to make sure that your readers should have a clear idea about your central argument. It should be a reflection of your whole work that has been flowing in the previous few pages. And then you also have to add, there is a practice of adding scope for the further research and pedagogical implications. So under the scope for the further research, you can recommend certain topics which you could not investigate in your research due to the limitation of your research, and other researchers can work on those topics. Under the pedagogical implications, you can talk about how your research is beneficial to the academic community. At the same time, here you should write about why your research really matters, why it is important, and you should also talk about what have you added here, which was already known, and at the same time, what is your new contribution to the existing stream of the knowledge. Next slide, please. Referencing has a particular style. You have to study style sheets, MLA, APA, Chicago. These are certain style sheets which we refer, and it is discipline specific. For example, in psychology, they use American style sheet, that is APA, the style of writing. Humanities, they use MLA. In law, students use OSCOLA. So you have to, there are some handbooks, there comes some handbooks, style sheet guides. You have to study those thoroughly. It is actually covered, especially during coursework, and you have to give references only with that. I mean, there are very good, I mean, this is very good to give a clarity on, for example, where you have taken one concept of from, how to write footnotes, how to write references, how to give citations, how to write bibliography, and so on. Next slide, please. In certain cases, there might be appendices. For example, if you had taken a lot of interviews, or you have interviews on piece of paper, then you can add those. Or if yours was a field work, and before and after pictures you have taken, you can add those pictures in the appendices or survey forms or so on. Next slide, please. But this part is not compulsory in all studies. This is very important mistakes to be avoided. So the preliminary pages sometimes are missing in certain cases. You should not do that. There are certain pages which I have not mentioned here, like the page of certification. So that is given by the university. Given university gives you a set in the handbook which pages has to be there, and you have to maintain the order completely. Then comes his abstract. Your research sometimes becomes very longer than one page, which is not a good sign of your research work. Then your thesis contains multiple formatting errors, which is also very bad. You have to be careful when your research contains the proposal stage words. Now, proposal stage words means what? Um, some see when you write proposal, it is written in future tense, but when you conduct your research, complete your research, it goes into uh, past tense, right? So this is how you have to take care of all these things. Then comes this academic integrity. Academic integrity, or that is, you should abide by the rules of research writing, etiquettes of research writing, avoid grammatical errors, and so on. So these are certain things you have to mind. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, please. The session is open for question answers. These are certain references I have used.